That's what she told me.
Ah, right over your window. Nice, right? That's the way to do it.
Just having a problem with the live stream.
He's learned. He's learned.
I would have eaten for everyone.
You two women in here. Ready?
We're recording, all right?
I
Okay.
already have a adjustment.
If we can all rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we're going to have a moment of silence to remember the services and sacrifices of the armed service members who protect our nations and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. Clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn.
Here.
Councilmember Freelander.
Here.
Councilmember Jedinak.
Here.
Councilmember Palumbo.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Sackett.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson.
Here.
Vice President Abrahamson.
Here.
President Kelly.
Here. This meeting was advertised in the Daily Record and the Star Ledger, the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway, on January 11, 2019. Notice was posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. 6, we have the designation of Sergeant at Arms. I see Officer Shea in the background. Township Code 2-5.15, decorum. While the council is in session, the members shall preserve order and decorum. The council president, at his or her discretion, shall direct the chief of police or such other persons in the police department as he may designate to be the sergeant of arms of the council meeting. The sergeant of arms shall employ reasonable means to maintain proper order and decorum consistent with accepted standards. Thank you, Mr. Shea, or Officer Shea. Seven is the adoption of minutes. We can do it several ways. We can adopt each one, yea, nay, or abstain. Or we can do it all 1 through 4 as a group. Does anybody have a preference?
Fine.
You're fine with the group? Everybody fine with the group?
Fine with a group.
You are?
Yep.
So we can do adoption for minutes would be 1 through 4. And I'll read them. It'd be the March 26, 2019 regular meeting. It'd be the April 4th, 2019 special budget meeting. It would be, number 3 would be April 9th, 2019 regular meeting. And number 4 would be April 23rd, 2019 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Quinn, Mrs. Abrahamson? And a second. You good?
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander.
Yes.
Councilmember Jedinak.
Yeah.
Councilmember Palumbo.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. I got 9 yeses, 0 no's, 0 abstentions. Motion carries. On to 8, which is open to the public. I have 3 that had signed in, though it doesn't limit anybody else that had missed the sign-in sheet. I have Mr. Dio. You will come up to the mic.
Patrick Dio, 11 Valley Road. A comment with respect to ordinance number 01907 to amend the meetings of the council. On 2-5.2, it says that the council shall meet annually for the annual reorganization meeting at 12 noon on January 1, or at some other hour on any day during the first week in January. My question is, who makes that decision, and how is that decision made? In other words, who's going to decide actually what date it's going to be, the annual meeting, and how is that decision going to be made public? It's nothing in here that says who makes the decision. Is it the council, the president of the council, the mayor, or is it a majority of the council that decides the date?
Well, I think the date would be something that would be confirmed through all the council members of their availability. We can't talk about it at once because we'd have quorum if we were doing it outside of a council meeting. But maybe perhaps Mrs. Seeger might have an answer for that, a little bit more thorough.
How to pick the meeting dates for the reorg meeting? I think Chrissy handles that as the clerk.
Mr. Dio, in that
Council
kind of a
President.
situation, what I would do is provide the council with dates where the courtroom council chambers are available, and then we would poll to see who is available and make up a quorum to actually hold the meeting.
All right. Well, I may make a suggestion that I like the idea, by the way, but I make a suggestion that it say that or at some other hour or any day during the first week in January as determined by a majority of the council.
Thank you, Mr. Dio.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have Mrs. Copel. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay.
I lived here for 35 years in Green Pond, Rockaway Township.
Could I just stop you for 1 second?
Sure.
Could you just say your name in the microphone?
Oh, my name's Gina Copel. Regina. And I left Rockaway Township in December. We were here for 35 years. For most who knew, when I challenged Mayor Puzio in November, my family was decimated. Not only my family, but dozens of others in the heroin epidemic here in Rockaway Township. My son was supposed to be here with me, overdosed in Green Pond 6 years ago. You can't even imagine the horror as a nurse that when I found my son dead, he was dead, and I won't even go into that. He's only alive today because I knew CPR, and that boy calls me every day and thanks me for giving him life 2 times. Since August of last year, there have been 4 heroin-related murders from within Rockaway Township. And I include in that one of my dearest, longtime, loving, brilliant colleague, Dr. Mark Quadrell, who I spent 20 years at University Hospital in Newark, saving thousands of lives. And many of you know him from the sports within the community. I was friends with his wife. I sent many people to him as a physician when he set up his practice in Mine Hill. He did the physical assessments for all the sports kids for free in the township. When his son was on the football team, he was the physician for the Morris Knowles football team. His son, Stephen, will never probably see the light of day again because of what happened last October. To say that I'm not devastated by that would be an absolute lie. I can't let it destroy me because I have 4 beautiful kids and a wonderful husband. And my family's a miracle and on their feet again because I did it. I saved my family alone lonely without any help from with my community here. Even though in Green Pond as a nurse, I spent countless hours helping my neighbors who were dying, who were sick and suffering. But when it came time for my family, there was no one there. And you want to know why? What were our children referred to as? Our children who were sick, suffering, dying of a deadly disease. What were our kids called? Did you hear it? Yeah, you're shaking your head. Did you all hear what our children were referred to in Rockaway Township? Our kids were called junkies. Shame, shame on all of you. It was said, so the Ionellis, who lost their only son, was able to hear that the day they laid their kid out. Jimmy Ionelli was my oldest son's dearest friend, and that day they called my son at work, and my husband was there in August. And my husband called me at 7 a.m. and I knew there was something terribly wrong. And anyone who knows my husband in Boonton Township, in Boonton and Rockaway Township, he's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. And he couldn't talk. He was sobbing and choking. I thought he was having a stroke. He finally got out that Jimmy was dead. And the man sobbed and sobbed. And he said to me, it even can happen to a cop's son. Because in Green Pond, we were so shamed and shunned and harassed for so many years. He thought we were alone in our crisis. On August 31st, Zach Bloom, whose family has been here also for years and years, he was a Star Morse Knowles baseball player. He also was murdered by heroin. It ironically was National Overdose Awareness Day. Like how much more can this town be woken up by this? I don't know. I had every intentions of walking out and never ever coming back in this place ever again. But what happened to Mark Quadrell, I owe it to his family, his children. I'm called so many times a week, emailed by our huge family that was at UMDMJ. He was a professor at Rutgers Medical School, where many of the doctors that we both knew still are devastated, completely devastated. So I decided to go out on my own and do my own opioid coalition, and I decided not to do it here in Rockaway Township. And I told Mrs. Dotchison why, and I have to say, with all the dysfunction in the politics here, which is really just disgusting and despicable, the things that I read on that Rockaway Township political page, you all should be ashamed of yourselves. But the one light was Mrs. Dotchison, because of what she went through. The woman is just tremendously full of class and decency and honor. And so coming out of Rockaway Township, it really was a nice thing to finally see that there was someone who could handle themselves within this political disgrace. I myself was not happy with the administration, and I told her I would not speak out against her husband in deference to her. But I'm doing this because there are a couple reasons. Since my son overdosed, and I called out Stephen Antonelli, who was my ward representative at the time, about 4 or 5 years ago, when the administration publicly supported John Sergio for sheriff. I researched him. I went to the day of the record, I went to debate, and there couldn't have been anyone less qualified for the position of Sheriff of Morris County. Now, I had a lot to lose on this. I had kids dying of this epidemic. So I called him out. He never came to see me, never talked to me. Recently, he raged at me for calling him out instead of driving the 2 miles to my house in Green Pond to see if there was anything he could do for me and my family. He told me it was a police matter, and then had to rage how his kid was being bullied at KDM because of the politics. And I said to him, you don't give a shit about my kids dying, but now you want me to boo-hoo about your kid who's being bullied. And again, look at, I can name 100 bullies here. I don't know any of them, but I can write them down. What a disgrace. Role models for your children in a county where a town where a sixth grader hung herself because of bullying. How long are you all going to sit here and allow the pathology and the psychotic narcissist bully and say slanderous things? It's just appalling. And there's a couple reasons. In December, I got wind of an article that Mayor Puzio might be endorsing someone other than Jimmy Gannon for Morris County Sheriff. Jimmy Gannon has been my husband and my sole support through these last horrid 6 years. 2 years ago, when I wanted to give up, when I couldn't even get out of bed, it was relayed to Jimmy Gannon, who called me and said to me, get up and don't let them shame you. So wherever Michael Antonelli is, you will not shame me, buddy. You will never, ever shame my husband and I for being parents of sick children ever again. Shame on you. Shame on your parents that they brought up a grown-ass man who thought it was appropriate to shame my husband and I for having kids who were dying. I started in February, certified prevention specialist to start up the coalition. There are quite a few people from Rockaway Township on it. Sheriff Gannon's on it, Anthony Bucco, Doug Cabana, multiple people. But in order for me to facilitate this, I had to get, I didn't have to, but I felt the need to get the certification so that I knew the lingo for this opioid epidemic, because it's really foreign to me. And I became a member of the New Jersey arm of the National Council of Addiction to Drug Dependence. And I'm in their leadership program. And while I was there, I got wind of a tremendous police initiative that I read about in Cranford, and I met with the police chief of Cranford Police. And the initiative is called PARA, the Police Assisted Addiction Recovery Initiative. And it was started in Massachusetts, which has been completely decimated New England. So we sat and talked, and within a week, boom, up comes Sheriff Gannon. Not only did he start Hope One, which is an outreach program in Morris County, he started it in Newark, he started in Atlantic County. They've gotten 400 people into life-saving, life-altering, long-term rehabilitation. They've saved thousands of lives. In these years, they've decreased the overdose rate by 38%. Jim Gannon did that, okay? So I've been watching in Rockaway Township. I reached out to a couple council members because, I reached out to a couple members because this initiative, Sheriff Gannon got up and going in Morris County in April. And on it, I was, to be honest, shocked that Rockaway Township was not one of the police departments that offered this initiative, which you don't have to pay for. Jim Gannon's got the money. I talked to him this morning, and as of this morning, no one within this administration or the police department has reached out to Sheriff Gannon. Now,
Was there a notice, do you know, Mayor Puzio? Was there anything from?
No, I received nothing.
well,
Obviously you know Sheriff Gannon.
Of course.
well, I'm wondering where,
Administration hasn't received anything on that. I can check with the chief of police. How many towns are involved in that right now? Can you give me
well,
an
I
idea?
live now in Sussex
No,
County.
but in Morris.
Oh, in Morris?
How many towns?
You have it. I sent it. Do you have a copy of it? It's Butler, Mount Olive, Andover Township, but that's up by me. Every township in Sussex County where I live now.
How many in Morris County? I'm just curious at this point, just to get, an idea, a benchmark.
There's probably about 10 in Morris County. But again, I met with the Butler chief of police, who said to me, one of the reasons he jumped on it was because guess what runs on the northern aspect of Rockaway Township? Does anyone know what Route 23 is known as?
That's a heroin highway.
It's Heroin Highway.
I know a little bit about the initiative. I mean, I know that what they try to do is strategically place centers or police stations. You'd have a north, central, and south. I don't believe that every police station, and I could be wrong. I mean, you seem to have some knowledge, some institutional knowledge on this, more than I have, it seems. But I know that in what they've done is they would have a north. In other counties, they would have a northern section of the county, a central, and a southern to serve, the different areas.
No, it's any
wouldn't
police
be-
department that wants to join.
Okay,
can
but
join it.
I'm just saying, to get it up and running, I know some counties have a north, central, and southern, so they can offer those services to certain sectors in the town.
Okay, I know that the initiative was sent to Rockaway Township, and no one has responded to Jim Gannon. And I'll give you his cell phone so that maybe you two can...
Can you email me a copy of what's out there, the
Absolutely.
initiative? Because I have not received it.
Okay, I will, and I'll talk to him later and find out who it was sent to, who the initiative was sent to. In closing, I'm just going to say, I know Mayor Puzio has a former colleague, Rockaway Township resident, who he has endorsed for the sheriff of Morris County. It is, and I will go to his meetings and I will go to his debates. He has absolutely no business running for sheriff after what Jim Gannon has put up in Morris County. To throw our kids under the bus like that, your kids and Morris County kids, by endorsing someone who's has no connection in these opioid incentives that have been put in place in just 2 years by Sheriff Gannon. He's got no business running. And he's one of yours. He lives in Rockaway Township. He was under sheriff, and he did nothing for Rockaway Township or your kids when he was a sheriff either. But yes, I will get the package to you, and I will let you know who the incentive was sent to, because in January, another kid died. I don't know if you're aware of that in Marcella. So how many more kids is it going to take? Where's Adam Solberg? I told him in September after Zach Bloom was murdered. Not one more kid. Not one more kid. And so who shows up at CARES in Rockaway, which is the Center for Addiction, Recovery, and Education? His wife. So she got a packet. And Lisa Solberg, what'd you do with the packet? What is she doing for the kids? Besides running her goddamn mouth off. Nothing. Nothing? Anyone? Crickets? Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Coble. We all want to mention too, Mrs. Coble, that there was also Mrs. Truesdale that passed, who was a former resident in Hibernia, and they did prosecute the female. It was the Rockaway Borough, and the Morris County Prosecutor's Office recently did that too as well. In addition to Zachary, which was a great kid, in the area. And there are a lot of individuals that are in the areas that are there that are addicted with that in the telemark community. They're not bad people. They've just got some issues that are going on. So I know that you and I have talked before about that, and any additional information that you need, just you can email myself, and you can CC Mayor Puzio as well. And I do believe that Sheriff Gannon did send something, I thought, to the PD or to the administration, I think maybe a little over a month ago, if not longer, concerning the para. So we'll find out what we have going on there, and I do appreciate you coming to the microphone. Thank you. With that being said, we have Mr. Press. Come on up.
Dave Press, 71 Oakland Avenue. First of all, I just want to bring up and congratulate Doug Abe on the well-deserved award that he received on Rockaway Township Day. And just wanted to congratulate the ticket led by Mayor Puzio, the recent election, and dumbfounded, I guess is a good word, for how Mr. Kelly convinced 934 people into voting for him. I guess people need to really do more research before they vote. Lastly, big problem that's come up for years and really needs to be addressed now is, probably needs to be addressed with the county. Polling place needs to be removed from Fox Hills. There's senior citizens live in other places in Rockaway Township. They don't have their own private polling place. There's absolutely no reason for it to be there, behind their gates, behind they can walk to their clubhouse or drive to their clubhouse. Plenty of other people need to drive to get to vote, and no special arrangements are made for them. They don't have their own sweetheart deal going, and that needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Press. Have a great night. There was only 3 that signed in. I don't know if there's anybody else that wishes to speak that did not have an opportunity to sign in. No? Seeing nobody? This portion is closed to the public. We have council appointments. We have 1, which is the firefighters. We have William Weber. 2, we have Emily Schoenberg. And that's, I'm sorry, that is for junior firefighters, yeah. And then we also have Zoning Board of Adjustment, full member, 4-year term is Mrs. Hampman. And then we also have Municipal Clerk, R19-131. So we'll go over each one individually. So on 1, firefighters for William Weber, do I have a motion?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Mr. Quinn. And we have Mrs. Smith as a second. Do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, I have 9 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Weber. Number 2, we have the junior firefighter, which would be, again, Emily Schoenberg. I have a motion?
Second.
I'll motion.
I figured I'd let somebody else step up.
Very kind of you. Ms. Abrahamson on the motion, Mr. Quinn on the second. Do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, that's 9 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. Motion carries. Number 3, we have the Zoning Board of Adjustment, full member, 4-year term. Just so that everybody knows that Mrs. Hammond was a fixture and a pillar in the planning department in Rockaway Township until her retirement. She was the administrator of that department. She is holding dual roles as an alternate for the zoning board as well as the planning board. and she wants to be a full member for the 4-year term. So I couldn't think of a better person to give that to.
Spot on.
So if I can have a motion on that?
So moved.
Who wants that motion?
I'll make the motion,
Manny wants the motion.
since I know we're over here on time.
Manny, you got it, bud. Mrs. Smith on the second. Can we please do the roll?
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
2.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, that's 9 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstention, motion carries. Number 4, we have the municipal clerk. We have R19-131 for Ms. Clipperton. Ms. Clipperton was our acting clerk. She came in July of 25th, 2018. Previous worked in government over at Bloomingdale as well as Oakland. She had years of experience there prior to coming here. She had passed all of her Rutgers certifications, all 5 of them on the first shot, and she also passed her RMC certificate exam on April 3rd of this year on its first try. And with an average of all the testing that she had, of all 6 tests, which maintained like a 93 average, 92 and change, 92 and change all the way across in doing that. So here we are now to make that appointment on that. So with that, do we have a motion?
I motion.
Could we have discussion?
Go ahead, Mr. Quinn.
You have to have a second.
Yeah.
Can I have a second for discussion?
I'll second it.
Hold on one second, you guys, so we can get here squared away. I have Mrs. Abrahamson on the motion. I don't, Mrs. Smith. John?
It was between Jonathan and I.
You want Jonathan to have it? John, you want that? We're making a motion, we're having a resolution.
I heard her motion, then I heard him motion.
We had a
don't need to
motion
make a
for
motion
the
yet.
appointment. We didn't have
Oh,
a
okay.
second before discussion.
Yeah, you need a we need a
Okay,
second.
I'll second it.
Smith with the second. Okay, Mr. Quinn? Open for
Yes,
discussion.
for discussion. Does she have her certificate as of yet? I know she passed.
Right here.
We saw it.
Right there. Did you read your backup documents? It was in the backup documents.
Okay, that's all I needed to see.
That's it, you're okay?
That's what I want.
Yeah, we actually went to the additional efforts to talk to Mrs. Hudak and local government services and the DCA that handles the certification. And Mrs. Hudak is also an attorney as well. So we just wanted to confirm, we've reached out to the members of the Clerks Association that gave us some information, and we followed up more with the state of New Jersey moving forward. So in case there was any questions like you had, there was also backup data to provide the certified that in fact there is a certification for her with a certification number as well. So if that's, is there anything else that you have?
That's
That's
it.
it?
Can you pass that down? I never saw
You
it.
didn't get it in your backup documents?
No.
Yeah,
It was in the packet.
That's where I got it.
I think it was twice
I
too.
printed it from my own
It
computer.
was in that, and then there was a follow-up from Mrs. Seeger
Here,
passing
I have the
around
letter,
some
here.
information that was not accurate.
I'd like it back though.
And then that information was then resent out again. I don't think Mrs. Seeger-
Excuse me, can I ask you what was inaccurate, Mr. Kelly?
About the certification.
Does she have her license in her hand?
She has her certifications as indicated in that, Mrs.
Does she have her license that's required, as you got an attorney opinion?
It's not the certification.
It's not.
She has her
lic-
certification number for that.
Certification is not your license.
Yeah, but you have
That's
a lot
her
of
license
involvement for
number.
something that's nothing to do with
It's
you,
not
Mrs. Seeger.
her license. And Mr. Kelly, I think that you brought this up about 6 years ago, that you saved the seniors from being driven by somebody who we didn't check, that a prior administrator didn't check that their license was on hand.
Can I have a
And
letter?
that's what is the same.
Mrs. Seeger, let me I mean, we're getting off the beaten path with that, but let me address that one thing. You had an individual that there was a certification that needed to be done as far as an endorsement for their license on that. Not only with the P endorsement, but there was also a B endorsement that was on there. And if you recall that time where Mr. Poff inadvertently failed to recognize the requirement that was necessary for that. So that individual received that job making $60,000 a year with benefits that didn't have the requirements that was met for their requirement under civil service. So you let that person keep getting testing, and they failed and failed, but they were still allowed to keep that job. But then they finally ended up getting that certification. And if I recall, that individual just recently resigned from another incident of a hit and run not too long ago. Over on...
Can't talk about personnel.
Yeah,
And that.
of course not. I mean, you brought it up, the issue, but that person no longer works there anymore because of the prior record that they had. So I appreciate you bringing that up, though.
Listen, I think it's great
Thank you,
that
Mrs.
she passed
Seeger.
her test.
Thank you, Mrs. Seeger. Thank you. So we have a motion. Please do a roll.
Councilmember Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Freelander.
Councilmember Jednak.
you don't have to thank me.
Councilmember Palumbo.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett.
No.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. That's 8 yeses, 0 no's, or 1 no, and 0 abstentions. Motion carries. Congratulations. Next, we have the consent agenda. And I'll read the numbers all the way down. There's going to be 1 through 27. We have R19104. We have R19105, R19106, R19107, R19108, R19109, R19110, R19111, R19112, R19113, and R19114, R19115, R19116, R19117, R19118, R19119, R19120, R19121, R19122, R19123, R19124, R19125, R19126, R19127, and we have R19128, R19129, and R19130. Go ahead, say it again.
Into the mic.
Okay.
I would like to remove 129 for discussion.
Okay. So we're going to vote on
29.
R19104.
Can you say all but?
Yeah, we're going to, we'll vote on from all of them but R19129, which is pulled for discussion. Anybody have any questions on that? No? Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Who was the second? Mr. Jackson?
I know, here it is.
Yeah.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak.
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett.
Yes on all except 19-109, no.
Can you remove that for discussion? consent should be all or nothing, so if we remove it, we can vote on that.
Councilman Kelly, can we remove 19-109?
Yeah, we can do that for you, sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. For discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're okay.
Yes, thank you.
109.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. So
We should go on the other now.
yeah, so from, we removed 109, R19-109 and R19-129. Everything has passed, 9 yeses, 0 no, 0 abstentions. Mr. Stack, you want to go first on that 109?
Sure, I was reading over 19-109, having to deal with the senior center. I'm trying to figure out why, when this project was bid and all this work was supposed to be done, why they're hitting us up for this extra money out here with the rates that are really not in tune to the current rates. When I did a little research on them, the rates are extremely high. A little bit of background on myself, I'm a paint guy, and these rates are not what the paint should cost, and these rates on the roofer rates are extremely high. So I don't know who got these rates or where they came from, but this is probably like, should be like $1,000, not like $3,200. It's extremely high. So I don't know who handled this project.
If I can ask a real quick question on that. Do you have a breakdown of what you have, a cost analysis of what it should be?
I do not have a cost analysis.
Okay. I'm just trying to see where you came up with your number other than a
And then the
general.
roofer's rate, is this a union project? Do we know? Is this a union job?
Yes.
It is a union job?
That's the prevailing.
Okay, prevailing wage project? Okay. Okay, because I thought the current rate was about $60 an hour, and the roofer is $81.20.
Whatever the prevailing, it's a grant, right?
Yeah.
So it's got to go with the CDBG grant rates. So it's
Okay.
two, it goes prevailing wage and the CDBG.
Your
rate.
microphone, please, Mrs. Seeger.
I can't hear you.
Allison, you want to?
Yes, this is the replacement of the roof at the senior center, and during that replacement, there was 2 change orders that were identified.
They did it all.
One was the replacement of a roof vent. While the roofers were up there, they observed that there was conduit for the HVAC put through a roofing vent. So instead of getting subs and replacing the conduit for those components, they are going to cut a new vent and seal up both the vent and the new vent and the old vent. That's one change order. The second change order is that the plywood fascia that's up there is not protected or has since deteriorated any painting that may have been on there. So they have to scrape it off, apply a primer, and then apply a overlay on it. These change orders were discussed with the project architect, and rates and scope of work
Rates.
were determined to be within the norm of the industry.
So this is a second change order on this project, correct? They gave us one like 6 months ago?
No. This contains 2, and both these change orders total to $5,000 and change, and they are within the grant amount provided to us by the Morris County Community Development Block Grant.
Okay.
And just so you know, Mr. Sackett, they have to do the higher of either rate. The CDBG grant given to us by the federal, is that federal, right? County or the prevailing wage.
I think the question, I don't mean to speak for you, but I think what you're saying is that, is this actually the amount that's there? Because what you're saying, Mrs. Seeger, is that there's the money that's there, so they can spend it within that grant amount. But I think what Mr. Sackett's saying, if you just give me a moment, is that the $5,000, from what he's looking at versus what they're doing in the paint and the labor of that, does it really come to the 5,000 additional that they're looking for? Like, I would even have a question, rather than paint it, why wouldn't we wrap it with coil? Which may be less invasive labor-wise, and it could be the same amount of money cost-wise for material.
The architect determines
Right.
that?
This is what was recommended by the project architect and the project contractor, and the rates and the proposal were reviewed and determined to be fair and accurate and based on industry standards.
You good? Is there anybody else that has any questions on that? No. We have the,
So we need to vote on it.
well, yeah, we'll vote on that, or you want to do each one individually?
Yes.
We have a motion on that one?
A motion.
Who was the one who made the motion?
Palumbo.
Oh, and you were Vic, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
And who seconded it? Mr. Quinn?
Mr. Quinn.
Mr. Quinn. Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Do the roll?
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
No.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. I have 8 yeses, 1 no, 0 abstention. Motion carries. We have, let's see. The one question I had, was there any backup on this particular one?
You should have gotten the packets
Yeah.
and put them together.
This was the one thing I didn't see. If you could just give me a moment.
Can I?
Sure. Yeah, no, we're just looking through for discussion on 129. Mrs. Seegert, if you remember, though, over the summer of 18, we had, I think it might have been special counsel or labor counsel, was Tom Prahl, that was here from Laddie Clark and Ryan.
Yes.
And when we were going through something similar to this, there was a recommendation from Mr. Prahl that the council couldn't act on a similar resolution of the same. And I want to know if anything has changed from,
I don't recall what he said.
and we can't ask Mr. Yatrofano because he's conflicted out. But it's just concerning because it said that, we could potentially have some issues as member of the council voting on something like this.
Alls I know is you have the consent order telling you kind of have to.
No, we can take action on it, but there's a yes or a no or an abstention. So that was the question from when Mr. Prahl was here last, had made those comments, sitting at that table.
You have a better memory than me of what he said. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was in July.
July 26th.
That was in there.
Mr. Kelly, may I suggest to the council 2 things? First of all, if you're suggesting it, there's some reason why the council could not or should not act with respect to this resolution. I would suggest that you put the reasons for that in detail with specific reference to specific documents on the record.
No, but Mr. Yatrafano, first of all, I mean, I don't feel comfortable with your participation because...
Well, that's the second question, Mr. Kelly. The question is, you again accuse us of having a conflict. What is the conflict specifically? I'd like to hear it. I'd like to know who told you it is a conflict, and I would like a specific citation to the rules of professional conduct that indicate a conflict exists.
Well, Mr. Yatrafano, again, if I recall on the April 12th order from Judge Minkowitz, it was clear that under RPC's 1.7 that you and Mr. Perone were in conflict. There was also a motion that was made by Mr. Brewer for reconsideration, not only for the actual order from the judge, but also for the reasonings for that. And Mr. Brewer, was relying on RPC 1.3. And then Mr.
That is inaccurate, Mr. Kelly.
Well, Mr. Brewer, if I recall, withdrew his motion for that reconsideration. But the most concerning thing is nothing's changed as far as the conflict that Judge Minkowitz ruled that you have. So I don't feel comfortable having this conversation, which is why I asked Mrs. Seeger if she recalled, only from the conversation that took place at an open public meeting with Mr. Prohl. That's all, because the conflict was of us participating in a vote of a similar resolution of this nature.
I don't think that resolution had a consent order, and your attorney signed this consent order, so he's agreeing it on your behalf. So I don't understand if he signed the consent order agreeing to this and he's representing you, why you wouldn't vote on it.
Well, we can either vote yes, no, or abstain.
Then-
That was the question.
Okay, if that's what if your attorney told you that, that's fine.
No, I was just asking about Mr. Prohl, which was the question that was on there. The other
I
question...
don't remember what it was. And
Oh, okay. It was just a simple question, Ms. Seeger.
I don't think it had a consent order, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing was the overall threshold amount. We've seen that there's the fees, the hourly rate has been reduced where it was over the average amount of the 195 down to 165. And there's already been payments to the firm, even though it was considered ultra vires of their original approval. Do we get a refund from?
We won't get a refund, we'll get a credit. We've only paid them 1 out of the 4 bills we received.
Right.
And they've all been adjusted to reflect 165. And as the consent order says, all 4 of them will only be $24,000 and something dollars. So he's not getting paid more than the agreed 165.
Now, what is the threshold, though? Originally, the original threshold from January 17th from the...
40,000.
It's back down to 40 from 80 now? Originally, it was 40, you upped it up to 80.
When the contract was sent out to them at the beginning, we had a bid threshold of 40,000, and it was 40,000.
Right.
And then when we put it back on the agenda, we put it up to 80 because he was spending more at that rate he was spending. By the time it got to you, we figured it should be 80,000. Now it's back, if you look at the contract that's attached to your resolution, it's back to the bid threshold, which is 17.5, which is reflected in the consent order.
And also...
that does not include the 24,000.
That's what I'm confused.
It says you will pay the bills from January to April that equal the 24,000. Then you agree to sign a contract up to 17.5, and then all the bills from then on have to be brought to the council to approve.
And we don't have any bills now. You haven't submitted anything to us. I have the backup data. That's one thing I was asking for, was the bills themselves.
He submitted one to you, and I have the other 3 here.
I mean, I know I'd asked for them a while ago, which...
I didn't have them. We only paid the one, and you got the one.
Right, but you received the bills, though.
I had these in my office. I didn't review them.
When were they received?
There's no date on it. There's no stamp date on them.
When were they submitted? Does it say on there their own?
They have not been,
You have them, so they have to be submitted.
May, but these are wrong. These weren't paid because I didn't have the money to pay them, the authority to pay them yet. So I was waiting.
Well, he wasn't legally appointed to actually pay him yet, so.
He
that's-
was legally hired, appointed by the mayor up to 40,000, just like we did other attorneys when the bid threshold was 40,000. Same as last year.
So the-
And same as every,
I'm a little confused. The order that we have on April 12th was that he wasn't lawfully appointed. Right. Which is
Correct.
why we went back, and this is what the
correct,
consent order is.
and that's why it wasn't paid.
All right, you just said that he was lawfully appointed.
He was, as far as I was concerned, as far as purchasing in January.
But we know that it wasn't now.
I don't know that.
Okay.
That's why we have the order.
That doesn't make any sense.
We have a consent order saying he can be legally hired.
Thank you, Mrs. Seeger. Do we have
It says
a,
we can entertain
Yeah.
it by vote. The consent order says we can entertain by vote.
yeah.
It doesn't say we are to vote. So,
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Sackett,
Mr. Jackson?
second from Jackson?
Yep.
Okay.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak? Abstain. Councilmember Palumbo?
Abstain.
Councilmember Smith?
Abstain.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Abstain.
President Kelly?
Abstain. We have 4 yeses, 5 abstentions. I believe motion carries.
Yes.
Because there's 4 yeses. It's on the majority of the entire council, it's those who vote, and the abstention is not a vote at all.
gotcha. Perfect. Understood. That was always a question. The abstention.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I understand that. It's always questionable.
We have 11, which would be ordinances to adopt.
Just remember that.
Each one, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion.
Excuse me?
Give me a second. Paperwork for working on today.
You want to wait, we can go through the ordinances to adopt?
Well, I have a motion on there. Just give me a second.
Go ahead, I'll cover it for you.
Because we're going on to ordinances, so,
What's that there?
no, that's a handwritten note. I wrote something on the computer, something, just give me a second. Too many papers.
This is Mrs. Palmieri's stuff.
Do with it. I'm sorry, I have too many papers here. I thought I had it on here. I'd like to make a motion. I was going through my paperwork today, and I'd like to going through our records. So I'd like to make a motion to increase the do not exceed amount of $17,500 for an additional $17,500 for a total amount of $35,000 for Christopher Deininger and Associates LLC regarding the litigation known as Puzio versus Rockaway Township Council et al. Docket number MRS-L-378-19. This was written by me, Christine.
Council President Kelly, aren't we supposed to be on ordinances to adopt? If you want to do that, that's no problem, but shouldn't that be under new business?
Well, you can make a motion at any time.
Okay.
Well, it all went together with I just
Okay.
figured this was the time for me to
Okay.
produce it,
Okay.
since it's with the litigation.
Okay.
Or do you want to go through this?
I made the
Okay.
motion, so.
Okay. I'm going to read this here. This motion is to increase the do not exceed amount of $17,500 for an additional $17,500 for a total amount of $35,000 for Christopher Deininger and Associates LLC regarding the litigation known as Puzio versus Rockaway Township Council, ETA et al., docket number MRS-L-37819. Respectfully written by Patricia Abrahamson, council member at large. Do we have a second?
I'll second. We have to have representation.
You got that?
I don't have all of
I typed it just so that I could redo it.
that. I can just copy that down before we.
Yeah, I think.
Take it.
Yeah.
I have it saved on my computer.
Do the roll?
Councilmember Quinn,
Abstain.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Abstain.
Councilmember Jednak,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Abstain.
Councilmember Jackson,
Abstain.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. 5 yeses, 4 abstentions, motion carries. It's fine, it's the other way around, it's so different. Thank you. You have the copy of that?
Thank you.
Jonathan, we're going to go on ordinance and introduce now, sorry about that. We have ordinance.
Can I ask a question? Did you change the not to exceed, or did you change his contract?
Excuse me?
Did you change his contract, or did you change just the not to exceed amount?
We've increased his not to exceed to $35,000.
Are you changing his contract?
Well, that would probably associate with the contract.
No,
So we'll just make another motion to increase his contract.
please.
Okay, fine.
Thank you, Mrs. Seeger.
Okay, then I make a motion.
Hold on, let's write it down.
Okay. Can I have the paper back so I can read it? Let me know when you're ready. Christina, do you want me to write it?
Write it down.
No, I thought she could do that. Change. Amend.
To amend this contract to reflect $35,000 as a threshold?
You would have to increase his contract to $35,000, because we had a not to exceed 17.5, so you would have to change his contract.
The simple solution, Council President, would be a motion to amend the contract consistent with the resolution the council just passed,
Okay.
unless I'm conflicted.
I think you are.
I'm not conflicted from telling the governing body the correct way to do business.
Mr. Yachafon, I understand. I understand. I'm only going by the order from Judge Minkowitz, that's all.
Okay, that's fine.
Everybody can read it.
Okay, now. Oh, wait. I make a motion to amend the contract with Christopher Deininger and Associates LLC to be increased by $17,500 to become a total of $35,000, which is reflective to the resolution just passed.
I'll second it.
Motion, not resolution.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Reflective to the
It's
motion.
not resolution.
I'm sorry, that's right. To the motion.
Not to exceed, right?
Just passed, not to exceed $35,000.
Is there a more clarity that you need, Mrs. Seeger?
No, I just needed not to exceed.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Do I have a second? Is
Yes,
Mrs. Smith?
Councilmember Quinn.
Abstain.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Abstain.
Councilmember Jednak.
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett.
Abstain.
Councilmember Jackson.
Abstain.
Vice President Abrahamson.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. 5 yeses, 4 abstentions, motion carries. Now, Jonathan, I promise you we're on ordinances. I do. We have ordinances to adopt. Ordinance O-19-07, amending Chapter 2, Rules of Procedure, Meetings of the Council, subsection 2-5.2, regular meetings of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Rockaway. At this time, we're going to open it to the,
Do you want a motion in a second
I'm
for
sorry.
discussion?
sorry. We have a motion on that?
Second.
Mr. Quinn, Mr. Sackett. At this time, this ordinance is open to the public. If anybody wishes to ask any questions or come up and speak. Mr. Dio?
Yes.
You did. Seeing none, this is closed to the public.
Council.
Anybody here have any questions?
Council President.
Mr. Jeniak?
Council President, there's currently ongoing litigation by Mayor Fuzio against the council regarding the powers of the council, including those powers that are enumerated in Chapter 2 of the Code. I don't believe it would be wise for the council to change Chapter 2 while that litigation is ongoing. Thank you.
Mr. Freelander, do you have anything?
We just know what Jeremy said.
Oh, okay.
Everyone has part of it, so I said.
Okay. Mr. Sackett, you're good? Good. Nobody else, Mr. President, you're good? Okay, okay, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak.
No.
Councilmember Palumbo.
No.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Councilmember Sackett.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson.
No.
President Kelly.
No. I have 5 noes, 4 yeses, motion failed. The ordinance has failed. Number 2, we have ordinance O-19-11. It's an ordinance of the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing the various capital improvements for the Township of Rockaway and appropriating $2,220,546, therefore, and providing the issuance of $1,442,771 in general improvement bonds or notes of the Township of Rockaway to finance the same. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Abrahamson. Palumbo, second. At this time, this ordinance is open to the public. If anybody in the public wishes to speak on this ordinance, please come to the microphone.
Okay.
Seeing no one, it is now closed to the public. Open for discussion. Anybody?
Yeah, Councilman Kelly.
Go ahead, Mr. Sackett.
Before I vote on this ordinance 19-11, I want to go back to our minutes from April 4, 2019, from our special budget meetings, when we actually discussed this in quite a bit. And at the time, we had talked about Peterson Field. And one reason I will be voting no on this ordinance is because I want Peterson Field included on it. When we discussed Peterson Field at the budget meetings, I had said, and it's, if you look at the minutes, it does mention it, that if we want to do any type of referendum for Peterson Field, I wanted the whole project, not just the basketball courts on there. I wanted everything. So I think that's why, since when we had discussed at the last meeting, only do little pieces, I don't want to do that. So I prefer to get the Peterson Field, get the project started. I want to try to see if we can maybe get something going at Peterson Field, whether in maybe lower it a little bit. Some of the stuff is a little high in there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Couple things I was looking at was the new playgrounds. I think it's important.
They were 40 and change, right? 45,000?
And the basketball courts, I think, can do, at a lesser cost. So I would vote on this if we can amend it to add those two items into there. Thank you.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I also will be voting no on this unless something with Peterson is in there, but we also have to look at tennis courts because there is tennis players that are hammering council people to get these tennis courts fixed and open. So yes, at Rockaway Township days, if you looked at those basketball courts, they were packed. So I agree with Jonathan, and if we are amending this to include stuff for Peterson, I would vote yes. Otherwise, it will be a no vote for me.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn.
Ma'am?
Absolutely.
I totally agree that Peterson needs a lot of help. Nowhere have I ever seen a proposal for the fields to get any help. And that is the biggest problem that we are facing. The fields. And not once have I seen an improvement for the actual fields. I see basketballs, courts, tennis courts, a basketball court for $450,000, which many people have contacted me and said it's an indoor sport. In the winter, we don't need a scoreboard and lights for the basketball courts. We need fields. You can ask all the rec parents if we need fields repaired. And nowhere has that been presented to us. Yes, we do need something on the referendum. We need a complete overhaul of Peterson Field to accommodate our children and to bring our values of our homes and keep it as competitive with the neighboring towns. Agreed. But not a $450,000 basketball court, not just a tennis court to be fixed and ripped up in another year, which is the first proposal. We need our fields done what the kids are playing right now, first. And that's what I have to say, and I will be voting yes, because the town needs to move on with the other projects. Thank you.
Mrs. Palmieri? With this capital ordinance that we have, we had spoke about, we've had grants, we have improvements on certain areas of Rockaway Township for paving and whatnot, other purchases of vehicles and some other amenities that we need within the township itself. If this was to get voted down, it would then stall a lot of those big projects from happening again, and then there would be another introduction. There would be another time period for it to be advertised and then to come back again for its approval to go through the same scenario all the time. So this is actually dire that we move forward. We've had conversations about the basketball court. In 2018, there were some monies that was going to be aside to actually resurface the basketball court. I believe it was $50,000 that they were going to do that at the time. And doing an analysis on the 12,000 square feet was 220 ton or 145 ton of asphalt, which came well below 20 grand to do that, which we can mill, and we also have a power box to pave it. So I think when we had these increases for the basketball courts and the plan that was going on for Keller Kirkpatrick for several years, from 2016 in September to where we're at right now, we just see some of these amounts that are there that are inflated for what we need to go over in the courts. And I think, Jonathan, you and I agree on that. Where other neighboring towns, some of the scoreboards were donated from Tilcon and other large corporations that were there. The needs and wants is something that we need to address moving forward. And again, an overall plan. The 4 screen slides that we had during one of our budget sessions, that was just done like on a small PowerPoint, really didn't depict anything. And I know that there's multiple plans, John, right, that have been circulating. One wants a hockey rink, and then there's other ones. I haven't seen any of them, by the way. And even the one that I was able to see with the basketball court, unfortunately, it was asked back immediately and requested again and never provided. So, you know, there's some difficulty there moving forward, and I want to know what's the importance? Do we move forward these main improvements and what our capital portion of it is to move forward, or are we going to stall this over a basketball court that we're putting on referendum where money is set aside? If the voters choose to move forward with that, we can then do the basketball courts. Would that be accurate, Mrs. Palmieri?
That would be a decision that all of you can make. Yes, but obviously you would be delaying it if you vote no on this.
Correct.
Yes, of course, we'd have to start the ball rolling all
Yep.
over again, but that's a decision for the 9 of you.
So the 2 million plus, we would be stalling of what we need to do within the township. Even though we agreed, I thought, at the April 4th budget meeting, to put it on a referendum. We have a deadline of August 15th or August 16th. Mrs. Seeger, I know you're shaking your head. I don't believe you were there in attendance. I think you left. So, you know, that was something Mrs. Palmieri had witnessed when we were there and what we confirmed. And we had a general consensus of all the members that were left here to move forward. So I'm a little surprised where we're at right now. So with that being said, I don't know if anybody else has anything. Mr. Jackson? No? Mr. Janiak?
Could you ask the CFO to list the projects that are in this ordinance?
Yeah, it's in the backup data.
I understand, but for the record, please.
I mean, I'll...
Read the list.
And this is, Palmieri, just, if I miss anything, I'm just going from A through G, right?
Yes, read the ordinance,
Yeah.
1911A.
And it would be the information technology, it would be of computers and networking equipment. Fire department, there would be various equipment, packs, alert pagers, turnout gear, stabilization equipment. Police department, it would be the Power Edge Exchange server and software and professional Toughbook laptops. Engineering, it's the acquisition of the vehicle wash facility that we've been trying for a long time. Of course, the King Roads, which is the grant money that we have. We have Mount Pleasant Avenue. I think we also have some grant money for that as well. The Lake Ames Dam Rehab, Lake Egbert Dam Rehab. We have Public Works with the road surfacing program. Fuel island renovations for the DPW facility. Acquisition of a wheel loader. Acquisition of a utility pickup with service body. Acquisition of a heavy vehicle computer analyzer. And I believe they actually, we're finding another one on that. Actually, it was cheaper that provided more of a service with that computer. Buildings and grounds were the municipal HVAC Phase 2. We also have the senior center interior building improvements. Acquisition of digital sign municipal building. And then park and recreation was a pickup truck that they wish with a plow and a lift gate. So voting no on that is going to vote no on all of that. You know, so you're, just so everybody's aware. Is there anything else, Mr. Janiak?
Thank you.
Please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
I'm voting no.
Councilmember Friedlander?
No.
Councilmember Judnak?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
No.
Councilmember Jackson?
No.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. I'm sorry, Mrs. Palmieri. I don't know if they realized they needed 6 votes to make it pass.
We realized.
You did realize that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right. So now you're stopping the town from moving forward for a basketball court.
It's not just a basketball court. How about baby's playground that's so bad I won't let my grandkids play on it? How about that?
Wow.
That's included in that
Wow.
money.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah,
is
wow is right.
So nothing gets done.
Mr. Quinn, I think that there was not an issue with the the playground through the insurance company.
Go over there and try to.
I'm only following the insurance report that was there.
So 5, we have
Want
5,
administration to go down?
5 yes, 0, 4 no. Motion does not carry.
Number 12, we have old business. Does anybody have any old business?
Old, new, combination?
No, old first, then we'll go to new.
Well, some report, but the ones that report, well, traffic, that's old business. I'd like to bring that up. Okay, well, he didn't say, can I talk?
No, I just, go ahead.
Well, because it's been brought up.
Is it something in reports, or this is business, something that you...
This is business.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Freelander.
I'll give a report when time to give a report. From the last council meetings, everybody, people have been coming up, complaining about the speeding, Kings, that area, White Meadow Lake. If you're aware, there was an accident on Valley View. A person got hit by a car, was riding a bicycle by the center, by the deli area. So it's about time. I reached out to the administration, and you have a report from the police chief?
I had sent it to you.
Mike, the mic, please. Thank you.
I had sent you the follow-up, the correspondence. The chief is going to increase patrols. And there was another issue with Councilman Palumbo. I had sent you follow-up from the chief. He's going to take care of Perry Street as well.
Okay. Yeah, over there where Richards Ave comes down into play, it's pretty heavy. And I don't know, Mr. Freelander, and maybe Mayor Puzio may be aware, I think there was also a drunk driver that had an accident on Valley Road.
Valley or Valley View?
Valley View.
Mr. Willis, because you picked the car off the guy wires, was it over in Valley? Valley Road.
No, that's
Valley View? Go ahead.
Mayor and Pat, I appreciate you getting back to me. The resident had complained on Perry Street, but the report from 2018, Pat, you explained it to me. I guess you and Lieutenant Ryerson, I believe? Captain Ryerson, I'm sorry. Where last year, I think radar was deployed 37 times on Perry Street.
Correct.
14 citations, and unfortunately, not one of them was for speeding. And am I correct? I mean, we went over that report?
Correct.
And there was no speeding citations on Perry Street in all of 2018.
Correct.
Speeding is a problem in this town. It really is. And until it's enforced, it's going to continue to be a problem. I was kind of surprised to hear that there were no speeding tickets issued on Perry Street. And I stood on a resident's lawn for a couple times, and it's crazy how fast people are going.
37 times to put patrol on that street
Right.
is a lot of times.
Okay, and only, all right, but 0 speeding tickets, so, thank you. Thank you for getting back to me, Mayor.
No problem.
And even addressing on Perry Street too, Mr. Mayor, the crossing sign where Perry Street and Richards Ave come together, they have an actual fluorescent yellow crossing sign. The one on if you're going up Perry from Dover, going into Birchwood, on the right side there, it's only one bolt and the thing is hanging, it's all over the place that's there. The whole actual support of it.
Okay, we'll take a look.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Mr. Freelander?
Yes. Well, it's a combination of old business and new business.
Can we say the old and we're going to the new, or can you combine it with new?
It's, it's business, so old and new. You already discussed it, so it's old. I'm bringing it up, so it's new. Right? So, we voted on the resolution R19-108. That's the provision for the special law enforcement officers, the shared service agreement.
Yes.
Right? Okay, you've raised the threshold. What I'd like to know is, administration sent in a resolution to raise the bid level so we can get 5 police cars for these special officers, which is part of the agreement. that we have to supply,
That would be correct.
right?
Councilman. What I did is I got a contact number for a vendor that deals with used police cars, because most of these police cars, well, all of these police cars, if we go through with which we are, the Class 3 specials for the 5 grammar schools, K through 5, those police cars will be purposed for those schools exclusively, for those Class 3 officers. And what I would like to do is, so we could save some money, not purchase new cars, because they're going to, in essence, going to be sitting at the schools for most of the day. So if you get a car with 40, 50, 60,000 at a huge savings, it saves the town quite a bit of money. That's what those emails were about.
Okay, so
Mayor Puzio, how many cars do we have currently in the police department?
I spoke with the administration down there. I think we have 17 right now, somewhere around 17. But if we hire any additional police officers, and then we're going to do the Class 3s, we're going to be short.
How many are on the road during the day?
Oh, I don't know exactly. It depends on how many officers are out there on the road. If somebody's off on vacation, if they have third-party work, it changes daily.
And these used cars, what years would they be, roughly?
I don't have the specs on me. That would be, the police department has those. What I did is I turned over the vendor to them and had them do their own research to see what they felt would be best suited. And then they gave me the administration just a breakdown. We can get it for you if you want to take a look.
Yeah, no, it'd be great. And what was the average cost for each car?
They were 6,000 to 7,000. And the reason they can vary, because, they look today, they could be sold tomorrow, but if we have to go out to bid,
miles.
they may not be there. So we want to get the best car for the best price. They could get all 5 of those for $38,000.
How many bids have you put out since February?
There would be no bids put out on
No, I'm just asking Ms. Seeger.
I haven't put out a bid.
You haven't put any bids out since February?
Nope.
On anything?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Mr. Freelander?
Well, that bid was for $39,000 for the total amount of the cars.
Correct, for 5.
And 5 cars for a
we could-
little under $39,000,
We
right?
could go out and purchase them now if we had, with quotes for that, if the bid threshold was 40,000. But we have a bid threshold of 17.5, which, we're stopping. It's just not.
Well, I'd like to make a motion then.
You can't make a motion. We talked about this before because the majority of it is already down. So the reconsideration on something like that nature, page 124 on Robert's Rules for guidance, we've already been down this road.
So you can't make a motion to increase that, but you can make a motion to increase an attorney's threshold?
Well, you had the majority of them that could do that.
So
yes.
then can you put this back on? Okay, then can you put this back on the next meeting?
We'll get some information from Mr. Puzio. We don't have all the information.
Well, I think it's important.
We'll have all the information. It's been sent to you.
You just said you were going to send it to me, Mr. Puzio.
No.
But those.
Council President Kelly, you asked me about particular models of the vehicle. I told you I would have no problem letting
No,
you
yeah,
see
the
that.
vendor, what it was per car, that kind of stuff is what I asked, that's all.
But that will change. If I give that to you
Correct.
today, they might not be there tomorrow.
But they may be there tomorrow, though.
They may.
Okay.
I can tell you this, I would like to get the program up and running by September. I don't want to have any delays. The job announcement has gone out. Applications are coming in. I would rather not have the officers riding around on scooters by the schools. I do have the ability to purchase new vehicles. Correct, Ms. Seeger?
Yes.
I do have the ability to purchase new vehicles, but I would rather do it this way so we can save dollars for the town.
But do we have a turnaround for the fleet now of any of the vehicles that are kind of like in that range where we would potentially look at them, replace them with new vehicles and then use those? I mean, we just got rid of a couple of vehicles.
We already put them up for auction.
Yeah, they're up already.
Yeah.
And we're short vehicles as well. We're short.
We
We're going to be
just
short
lost,
vehicles.
I think it was 6 of them, right? 6 cop cars we
And
sold?
we just lost one with an engine.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Freelander?
Well, so how do we move on from here?
I just
To
told you I'll
it
get
in
some
the-
information from them when we review it again.
There's no more information except to give you the models of the cars. That's it. So
Thank you,
we
Mr.
can't-
Puzio.
But if you're going out to bid,
No more information.
Yeah, if you're
but
going
to
out
give
to
you the
bid-
vendor and the models of the cars.
You can vote on the resolution to make a new motion to increase the threshold now.
We've already gone through that with reconsideration of the motion, Mrs. Seeger. We've already addressed it before.
Matt, let it go, we'll buy new cars.
Is there anything else, Mr. Freelander?
We'll buy new cars.
No?
It isn't worth arguing.
Thank you. I have one thing, Mr. Dyer, on old business. I had asked you on 2 different occasions for the notice up on Facebook and on our webpage for the sewer assessment committee. Have we gotten any progress with that?
We have some progress. My understanding, we have a draft. Chris, you can send it out? Okay, we can send it out. We have a draft.
I was just wondering, when are we going to post it? Like every time that we delay this because of the house
That
sales.
would go through the clerk's office, the posting.
Well, he was going to put it on the Facebook, and Mrs. Seeger kind of controls that like we've done in the past with the zoning board and other committees that are there.
I'll put it on, we're good to go.
We will put it out. Chrissy, Ms. Clipperton made the advertisement, and if that's approved.
No, I know. I've
And
asked.
I was told that it was being reviewed by the township attorney.
Who told you that?
If that's good and the council approves that, we can put that out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. That was simple. New business. I have one thing. I don't know if Mr. Fillion, you have new business, or that was your combination? Yeah. New business. Just last week, there was an issue over on Lake Ames. Somebody actually dumped a large commercial dump truck of dirt, pallets, asphalt, garbage, construction debris, and I was there releasing a raccoon that I had caught. So when I came up on it, looked like it was just freshly dumped. Contacted PD. Officer Nicholas Arisman came there immediately, and we sifted through the garbage and found out who the individual was. There was an old parking summons, a Home Depot receipt, and business cards and advertising for this individual. County got involved. Mr. D'Agostino was assisting, Mr. St. John, Mr. Flora, and of course, Officer Nicholas Arisman. But in the area where that is, of where the old RT Castle and where Lake Ames is, since there's nothing going on anymore in these areas, they're kind of dormant. There are some people that picnic over at Lake Ames and after the grass is cut, barbecuing and stuff, and then the RT Castle has now become a dump. And it's eroding out towards the parking area into the road. It's been going on. We had Kimball knock the building down. We had moved, it took us, several years to move the playground up to Telemark. But is there something we can do? I mean, I know in the past, we were talking about looking for property for a dog park. And there was some, a member of the public, including myself, said, we have this area that's not being used. Why not use that area? It's a very slow maintained road. There's no improvement, so if a dog or an animal was to get loose, it probably wouldn't get maned from the slow-moving vehicles. If maybe we put something there to show activity where people go, this type of activity probably wouldn't take place. But I mean, it is literally a dump, how it's eroding out from just people dumping their waste and building materials and concrete and a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't know if there's something we can look into there to come up with a project. We did, I think, put together maybe like 17,000 several years ago, and when Mr. Fiorello was here. So if we can look back into that.
I will look, see if we have money.
If there is a project that we could maybe potentially do a dog park, I know there's a lot of outfits that would volunteer to do that at zero cost to the taxpayers with equipment, assistance, labor, even materials. And Sparta has something of that nature with the administrator, Mr. Close. They have somebody that maintains the dog park, as long as they can put an advertisement sign there at no cost. So again, it's just another idea, revitalizing something from a long time ago.
I think that they did say that, and the volunteer group came up, but they never followed through on the project of volunteering, getting it started. And we put out feelers for that, I remember a couple of years ago. Nothing came to fruition.
I don't remember seeing anything on there, but there was Mr. Haas and myself, so I don't remember receiving anything as a feeler from that, but I do know that there was some money that was set aside for it. But again, if we can just look at it and see, maybe there'd be an idea, get people together, some dogs and their animals. Wharton just put up one off of Dewey that's very successful. So just, I think it would hinder people dumping all the time over there. This is something we can look at. Other than that, I don't have anything else for new business. We got reports. Mr. Quinn?
Yes. I'd like to first congratulate the mayor on his win. And then I would also, I attended the PAL meeting the other night, and the PAL is getting very active with the Challenger program, as everybody knows. And they have baseball and softball finishing up, and then they are looking at the punt, pass, and kick, which is happening this weekend with football. And they are partnering with Morris Knowles soccer team, so the kids that are challenged can go play some soccer and learn some things. They're also doing that with football also. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Mrs. Smith?
No report.
Mr. Jeniak?
Council President, Flag Day is this coming Friday, and Sunday is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all who celebrate.
Okay, give it to a punch. Is that all? Mrs. Abrahamson? Hold on one second, we'll go through. Mr. Palumbo?
At Germania Park on Congress Street, I believe it's Oktoberfest, Bob, the 22nd and 23rd of June. Yeah, June 22nd, 23rd. So that's all I have for a report.
Mr. Jackson?
No report.
Come on, you gotta hit it big on this one. I know where you're going.
We're going to talk about Rockaway Township Day.
That's it.
Rockaway Township Day was this past Saturday, June 8th. We had over 4,000 attendees. And JMK Events, Allison Kohler and her team did a fantastic job. The fireworks had to be one of the best fireworks I've ever been to my whole life. Everyone I talked to there really enjoyed themselves. I want to personally thank everyone from the town who helped out with this event. I also want to personally thank the council, the mayor, Council President Kelly. I know you went there on Sunday. I was waiting for you.
I was there, you came,
Yeah.
I went to get equipment.
And I know you went there, and I want to thank you for that, for going to clean up some of the fireworks that left behind. It was a great day. I was there pretty much the whole time, and really great event. I'm so happy that we did it. Everyone in town, really, it was a good pick-me-up for everyone in town, and just couldn't thank everybody enough, so thank you. Also, this week, there's another event starting Thursday. It's the Tri-County Fair down Green Pond at Christ Church. It starts on Thursday, runs through Sunday. It's right at, and fireworks on Friday night. So if you're around, it's a good event as well. I want to wish everyone a happy Pride Month, and I also want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day. Thank you.
Mr. Freelander?
Everybody's doing great in town. I just want to say one thing. Last month, I had sent a letter to the New Jersey Historical Trust backing our application for the Ford Face House. And just want to let people know that in October, they received 94 applications. This is the third round, and we're still in it. They give out $17 million. Hopefully, we'll get something. If anybody's been by the Ford Face House, it's an ongoing project, but it's getting there. It's just fantastic what these people do, and you got to support them whenever you can. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Freelander. I'm going to bore you one more time. I did call you, put a post on Facebook, shook your hand again on the Rockaway Day. Congratulations on your win. You definitely knocked it out of the park as far as your campaign went. I want to just, the library over in Hibernia, they have their water damage. I had some members of the public that are very active in that. Mr. Shulian, I know, is very active with the library myself. Do we have any status on that at all for them? They're concerned about mold and some damage and some...
We're getting quotes, and they're getting bid specs together because it's probably going to have to go out to bid because of the amount of money that is going to be needed.
Do we have an assessed amount of how much it is?
No, I said they were getting that together.
Right.
Mr. Coward gave me something, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
When did it actually, what was the time frame when it happened?
The time frame?
Yeah, how long ago did it happen? April? March?
I don't.
Basically 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months and we're...
4 months through the library, but the last meeting. They weren't saying any sooner than that.
Yeah. Is there anything that we can do as the township itself with our...
Raise the bid threshold, but you don't want to hear that.
Yeah, it's only been going on for 4 months now. Is there
Well, they
insurance?
had to clean up first, then they had to lift the floor, then we had to wait for insurance to come out. You know, it's a process when that happens. And then if we get the quotes, and the quotes are too high and we have to go out to bid, we have to produce bid specs, which
Okay.
we normally wouldn't have to do if we just had quotes.
Right.
It's a lot more longer process.
So we're starting on that now though, right?
I haven't seen the bid specs yet.
Okay. The other thing is Rockaway Day. Like I said, Allison Kohler really, this isn't her first rodeo. She does a phenomenal job throughout the state. She has events constantly going on, and she really killed it. I mean, she really did a fantastic job. A couple little kinks here and there, but she worked them all out, obviously. Maybe some better ideas we can add on to it to next year if it happens with doing that and helping her out. Yeah, but Mr. Swanton had a phenomenal crew of men that came there early in the morning. He came in the afternoon, throughout the evening. A lot of the guys from DPW. They really did a great job picking up all the garbage and recyclables and stuff like that. There was somebody that made a comment on Facebook about them not having the recyclables, but once they get contaminated from people putting garbage into plastic areas, there's nothing they can do. So it had no fault of them being faulty of what the collection was. But on Sunday, there was a wonderful woman from Clean Communities, Karen, how could you forget her? She's a recent hire in April, and she's a really wonderful person. And that woman was doing a fantastic job. So when I had stopped down there and I knew that you and the mayor were coming down, I was surprised to see you up that early. You were having a good time that night. Yeah, but we did come back with equipment and cleaned it all up because there was rain and there was supposed to be a scheduled field day for Copeland, which was canceled because of the weather.
You just missed it. I was down there with John.
Yeah, I passed you guys on the way out when I was coming back. But not that everybody that was an employee did a fantastic job, but I just, yeah, there's something about her. Yeah, her last name I don't remember, but I mean, she was there picking up everything and she took some heavy, her bags and everything else. And just, if anybody sees her, just make a mention to that. She's a newbie in here and she's very dedicated to what she was doing, and she did a great job too. And then I'm going to spin off on Happy Father's Day to everybody here that are fathers. And with that, Mr. Mayor.
In regards to the Ford Face House, I attended the meeting last night down at the county, and I was represented the town along with Gene Licker from the Historical Society and our architect. And what they're trying to do is obviously get grant money to further that project and work on the interior. This year's grant that we're looking for is for actually just for design, to do the plans to improve the inside. And then next year, we'll go out for the construction portion of it. There's around 11 or 12 people on that board that we had to present to. It was very quick, but we're hoping to keep that project moving forward. It's important to our town. As I go along with this, sitting in the mayor's seat, I keep learning a little bit more each day about all the wonderful things that we have in town, and the Ford Face House is definitely one of our gems, and it's moving along nicely. I want to echo what everyone up here said about Rockaway Township Day and our 175th anniversary, that it was held for that. It was a great day. The weather, I think the weather was the driving force behind the amount of people that came out. Unfortunately, with those type of events and with Miss Kohler, she's so busy and she's set up for the whole summer. We can't have a rain date with those kind of events. So I know we all were keeping our fingers crossed. The DPW, the police, all of the personnel involved, our department heads, Brian Coward, as always, Doug Ave, the man behind the video camera, is there, and he got the Iron Spirit Award. Doug. So it just was a wonderful day. If you were there, if you had a chance to attend, everyone was having a great time. The music, we really, really needed that. So I was glad that it went off, pretty much flawlessly. Thank you.
Mrs. Seeger.
Everything's going well. I'm going to pass my baton to my assistant Dave to give you some good news.
I just wanted to mention to everybody, I know everyone gets a lot of these magazines, New Jersey municipalities. And if you recall, back in April, we did the local government week. We had it in the lobby here. All the divisions were out there. And we're actually showcased on page 58 here, where we have, I guess there's how many municipalities, like 550 some odd municipalities? And Rockaway Township is probably one of about 20 that are mentioned who participated, and we sent pictures in. And I'm standing next to the great Bobby Sheard over here, best DPW director in the state. But just, if anyone wants to check out this magazine, I think it's pretty cool that we got some great pictures here.
Can we get an autograph one of that from you, Dave?
Just maybe, do you have your copy?
Diamond.
I need your copy. That's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Palmieri?
No report, thank you.
Great, thank you. Mrs. Fronte?
No report.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, guys.
I got it.
Motion?
Yes.
Got it?
Yes.